Good morning, good afternoon. So we're moving forward with still working with quadratic functions. In this particular notes, what we're going to be doing is learning how to complete the square root. Completing the square root, to be quite honest, is a precursor to the quadratic formula. All the steps taken to complete the square is the same that eventually makes the quadratic formula. Okay, sometimes it comes in handy, especially when it's in vertex form and so forth. Just a quick reminder that there are technically 5 methods to solving a quadratic. We have factoring, taking the square root, completing the square, quadratic formula, and the last one I forgot was graphing. All of these methods are what we're going to be covering. So far we've done graphing, factoring, taking the square root. So at this moment we're going to learn how to complete the square. Now what does complete the square look like? Okay. Well, completing the square is the process of writing something that's called a perfect square trinomial. So, what is a perfect square trinomial? I haven't been explicit about it. All you need to know is pretty much what I'm going to show you right now. You have x squared plus 14x plus 49. Now, why is this considered a perfect square trinomial? It is considered a perfect square trinomial because the first term and the last term are squared, and the middle term is the sum of them. What do you mean, Ms. Lopez? For example, if I was to factor this one, I would have 49 on top, 14 on the bottom, 7 and 7. 7 times 7 is 49. 7 plus 7 is 14. So then if I was to factor it, it will look like this, completing the square. So completing the square is finding this last term that will make it true. And for the most part, it's the square root of it that goes inside the binomials. So this is called a perfect square trinomial, and what we're going to do is practice to rewrite it in this format. Okay? So, I'll be honest, it's tedious in the sense that a lot of little steps. So, my piece of advice is be organized. Make sure that it's easy to follow because you can get lost. And I know that some of you students like to create your own way, thinking you know how to do it. I strongly suggest you take your time because some of this is brand new. So what we're going to be practicing is completing the square. Again, what we're looking for is this last term that will make it true. So here are the steps. The first step, make sure that it's in standard form. We have x squared, we have 10, now I'm looking for the other one. Then you're always going to divide the middle term. You're going to divide b, or the middle term, by 2. So how does that look like here? My middle term is 10. I'm going to divide it by 2. And then I do the math. What is 10 divided by 2? Negative 5. Then the second thing you're going to do, you're going to square the results. And what do I mean by squaring it? It means I have negative 5 and I square it. So, what's negative 5 squared? 25. So, in order for me to rewrite it or complete the square, what I'm going to do is rewrite it and include that squared result. So my answer would be x squared minus 10x plus 25. So 25 completes the square. But what is it that we're going to do with that? We're using it to learn how to rewrite it. And you go x minus 5. You might ask yourself, Ms. Lopez, how did you know to put minus 5? Whatever you get when you divide by 2 is what you put inside the parentheses, okay? So again, whatever you divide by 2 is what goes inside the parentheses. So with this particular example, if you notice, 10 was an even number, which means it's divisible by 2. There'll be moments though, ladies and gentlemen, that you might just get an odd number, such as number 5. So how would that one look like? Again, it's in standard form, so we're good. I take the middle term, which is 5. I divide it by 2. Is 5 divisible by 2? No, so we leave it alone. The second step was to square your result. So when we square, ladies and gentlemen, you're supposed to distribute that to both the top and the bottom, which then would give me 25 over 4. So we're done. So what is it that makes me complete the square? I would have x squared plus 5x plus 25 over 4, which then allows me to rewrite it as x plus 5 over 2 squared. Again, this comes from the step 1. Okay, so that is the process of completing the square. Divide by 2, square the result, and rewrite it. Okay, again, we're referring to the quadratic being in standard form. Standard form. Now, how does this help us? Well, this is going to be an extension of what we did previously when we are taking the square root. So, factoring, well, the first method that we practiced was graphing, which we're not going to do because it doesn't give us an exact number sometimes. So the second thing you want to do is see if it's factorable. Let's see. What are the factors of 11? 1 and 11. Is that somehow going to give us 8? No. So this is a prime function because you're not able to factor it. Can we take the square root? No, because there's a middle term. So we're stuck with completing the square. So at this moment, what I would do is just put my pencils down and watch me walk you through the first step. At any moment, if you need to pause it and rewatch it, I would highly recommend you to do so. So here's our equation, and we want to solve by completing the square. So the first thing you want to do is kind of set it up like the ones in example 1. Oops, this is example 2. Typo, my bad. So what do I mean? So let's rewrite it first to what I'm saying. So we're going to have x squared plus 8x plus, I don't know, equals 11. If you take a minute to look at it, I brought the negative 11 to the other side. You always do the opposite. It's negative, so I would have added. Now, what do? I do everything I just did in example 1. I complete the square. Okay, how do we complete the square? We take the middle term, 8 divided by 2 gives me 4. 4 squared is 16. So 16 helps us to complete the square. So how does that look like? Well, I'm going to technically add it to the left side. And because it's an equation, you have to keep that balance. If you do it to one side, you have to do it to the other. So how would that look like? You have x squared plus 8x plus 16 equals 11 plus 16. Okay, which is actually the third step. You add the result to both sides. And when I mean sides, I mean the equals. So now, what are we going to do? We're going to rewrite and simplify. What do you mean, Ms. Lopez? Well, we have the left side. What can I do to the left side? I can go ahead and rewrite it like this as another binomial, x plus 4 squared. Where did that 4 come from? Again, it's when you divide it by 2. Then we simplify the right side. What's 11 plus 16? 27. So now what we're going to do is try to solve. How are we going to solve? Is we're going to solve by taking the square root, which we have practiced in the previous lesson. So how would that look like, ladies and gentlemen? I would take the square root on the right and on the left. Even though I did the left first, doesn't matter. Okay, so what are we going to have on the left-hand side? We're going to have x plus 4 equals plus or minus the square root of 27. Is x by itself? No. So what would I do next? I would subtract 4 from both sides. So now I have x equals -4 plus or minus the square root of 27. Here's the thing though, ladies and gentlemen, that you need to keep in mind as you do these. When you have a square root, you must simplify whenever you can. Okay, we kind of practiced this the other day. We're going to break down 27. We think of what are the factors of 27, which we know could be 9 and 3. So we have x equals -4, the square root of 9 times 3. And then we keep working it. We have x equals the -4 plus or minus. What is the square root of 9? 3. Does 3 have 1? No. So it remains under there. And we are done. Okay. So again, take a second or two to read it thoroughly. Try to find the steps, and please be neat. Again, we rewrite it. We leave that blank. I like doing this because it's a friendly reminder of what I'm supposed to be doing. Okay? What are the steps? You divide the middle by 2. You square the result. Whatever you got when you squared it goes both to the left and to the right. You simplify the right side. You rewrite the left side. You take the square root. And if it's possible, and when it's possible, you must simplify the radical. And that's it. Okay, let's try one more time. Now, if you take a second and look at letter B, if you notice, it's a little bit more messy. We want all the variables on one side and all the numbers on the other side. So what would I be doing? I would subtract x and subtract x. Now I have x squared minus 4x plus I don't know equals -1. How do I find the I don't know? You complete the square. We have -4. We divide it by 2. What's -4 divided by 2? -2. What do I do with -2? I square it. What do I get when I square it? I get 4. What am I going to do to that 4? I'm going to include it on my left and on my right. Okay. So now I end up with something that looks like this. X squared minus 4x plus 4 equals -1 plus 4. So at this moment, I would rewrite the left side as a binomial. X minus 2. Where did I get that? When we divide it by 2. Equals, what's 4 minus 1? 3. Now that we have this by itself, I'll go ahead and take the square root of both sides. And it will give me x minus 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 3. Now, does 3 have a nice clean square root? No. So you leave it in there. We want to solve for x, so I would add 2 to both sides, and I am done. Bam. So imagine trying to factor this. Not going to happen. Imagine trying to graph this. Not going to happen, because it won't be as exact, and sometimes you need exact and precise answers. So if you notice, I did not use the decimal equivalent of square root of 3. Okay? Again, if you need to pause it, and redo it. Okay, we're going to go over 2 more. Couple things that I need to mention. And as you look at C and D, if you notice, they both have a leading coefficient. Do you want it to have a leading coefficient? And the answer is no. Okay, so couple restrictions when you're completing the square. The leading coefficient should be positive and 1. Okay? It should always be 1, and it must be positive. Okay? 2. You want to also make sure that the variables are on one side. So, variables on one side. Okay? So let's look at letter C. What are we going to try to do? Well, we always want to work smarter, not harder. So let's take a minute and look at the problem. And if you notice, this one makes my life a little easy. Why? Because 3 is a factor of 12 and 6. Cool. So what does that mean? I can take the GCF and divide everything by the GCF. Okay, so now I have x squared minus 4x plus 2 equals 0. Let's see. Do I even need to complete the square? I don't know. Let's see. Is it factorable? What are the factors of 2? 2 and 1. Is that somehow going to give us 4? No. So it's not factorable. Can I take the square root? No. It has a middle term. So I'm stuck with completing the square. Let's set it up again. You have minus 4x plus I don't know equals negative 2. Again, how did it become negative 2? Because if I bring it to the other side, it becomes the opposite. So now I follow my steps that I've been doing. I take the middle, divide it by 2. In this case, I get negative 2. Then I square it, and I get 4. And I'm going to add it again to both sides, which results in x squared minus 4x plus 4 equals negative 2 plus 4. So what do? I rewrite it as a binomial and I simplify the other side. So, I'm sorry. I'm getting distracted here by something. Okay. So then I would rewrite it as x minus 2 squared equals 2. Where did I get that negative 2 from? That one. Then what am I going to do? Take the square root. Then I get x minus 2 equals plus or minus the square root of 2. The 2 doesn't have a square root, so it remains in the radicand. That's what that little house thing is called. If I want to get x by itself, I would add 2 to both sides, and I am done. And how many answers is this? Technically it's 2. 2 plus this, or 2 minus that. Okay, I'm going to work with that more when I get back. Let's look at D. If you want, what I would do is pause the video and try to see how far you can get without looking at the video. Once you're done, you can refer back to the video or check your answers on Schoology. But for some of us who need a little bit more, I will go ahead and walk you through it. Again, we want the variables on one side, the numbers on the other. So I would subtract x, and I would subtract 3, which would give me 2x squared minus 2x equals 6. Oh, look at that. We have a leading coefficient again. What's so nice? Everything's divisible by 2, which will result in x squared minus x plus what we're going to be looking for equals 3. We complete the steps. We take the middle term, which in this case would be negative 1. We divide it by 2. It's not divisible by 2, so we can leave it like this. Then the next step was to square it. So we distribute. Negative 1 squared is 1. 2 squared would be 4. Where's that going again? To the left and to the right. So how is that going to look like? X squared minus x plus 1/4 equals 3 1/4. So what do? We rewrite the left side. We get x minus 1/2 squared. Where did we get that half? From this one. Equals 13/4. At this moment, you guys should know how to do fractions. If not, you need to work on it. Practice, practice, practice. Okay? I'm not going to be that cruel. You have 3/1 plus 1/4. We multiply this by 4. We get 12/4 plus 1/4, which would result in 13/4. Okay, what's the next step? We're supposed to square root. Square root. You have x minus 1/2 equals plus or minus the square root of 13 over the square root of 4. Am I able to do this? Yes, I am. Yes, I can. I'm sorry. So then you have x minus 1/2. 13 doesn't have the square root, but we know that 4 is 2. X is still not by itself, so what would I do? I would add 1/2 to both sides, and I am done. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I will be uploading the notes so you have something to refer to. Your book work is your homework. Make sure to complete it. I will be available for tutoring. You can always feel free to text me. I will try my best to answer your questions. The problem is I might be out of service, but I will try my best. Okay, have a good day and make good choices.